Coronation Street spoiler. Maggie slips up and Ben starts to grow suspicious. Has Maggie revealed more than she should have? Maggie confronts Will and tells him she is convinced that he is in love with Megan and that she believes the baby belongs to him. The question is, how will Will react to such a bold accusation? After overhearing the heated exchange, Eva and Ben enter the back room. Ben immediately turns on Maggie, accusing her of trying to pressure the truth out of Will. Tensions rise even further when Ben tells Maggie that it would have been better if she had died instead of his father. Maggie's reaction to the cruel remark then sparks suspicion in Ben, leaving him wondering if something is not quite right. Meanwhile, Todd says sorry to George for the earlier argument at the bistro. George reassures him that, despite everything, he will always care deeply about him. Over at court, a nervous and shaken George waits for the verdict, with Christina and Glenda standing by his side for support. After the hearing comes to an end, Todd later tracks George down at the pub. When George questions Todd about why he is planning to move to Belfast, Todd quickly avoids giving a proper answer and changes the topic instead. Elsewhere, Kevin and Jack visit Debbie and tell her that Adam is feeling positive about the chances of her appeal succeeding. As Debbie struggles to open a carton of orange juice, Jack steps in to help her. Later, Lou gives Debbie a lucky clover she made during woodwork class and tells her it should bring her good fortune for the appeal hearing the following day. Debbie is clearly moved by the thoughtful gesture. Also in today's episode, Bethany meets up with Jodie to have a drink together. When a slightly drunk Daniel criticizes Bethany over the way she behaved in the past, Jodie immediately jumps in to defend her. As a result, Bethany begins to warm to Jodie and see her in a more positive light. Todd Grimshaw's family finally begin to uncover the truth about Theo Silverton. Sally notices a striking similarity between Tim and Will, while Debbie Webster receives some encouraging news. Next week in Coronation Street, pressure starts mounting on Theo Silverton as George Shuttleworth opens up about his growing fear that Todd Grimshaw may be trapped in an abusive relationship. Although Todd quickly dismisses the suggestion, Gary Windus later overhears one of Theo's alarming outbursts and decides he can no longer ignore what's happening. At the same time, as the Driscoll family continue trying to reach their son, Will, Sally Metcalf reflects on something from husband Tim's past that she believes could offer them some much-needed guidance. Elsewhere, there is a hopeful development for Debbie Webster, while Jodie Ramsey gets closer to Bethany Platt. Here's a full look at everything taking place in Coronation Street between Sunday the 29th March and Friday the 3rd of April. Todd Grimshaw's loved ones begin to understand the full truth about Theo Silverton. Christina and Summer inform Glenda and Sarah about George's disturbing suspicion that Theo has been abusing Todd, and the women are left horrified as they begin to realize he may have been suffering quietly for a long time. When Todd notices the discussion, he strongly defends Theo and refuses to accept the accusations. However, George remains unconvinced and stands by his fears. Later, Sarah shares her concerns with Gary, who at first struggles to believe what she is suggesting. But as Sarah lays out more and more warning signs, Gary starts to rethink his position and agrees to go with Todd back to the flat above the corner shop. When Theo hears the door slam, he immediately launches into a burst of abuse, not realizing that Gary has heard every word. The following day, Gary wastes no time in firing Theo from the builder's yard. When Theo reacts angrily and challenges him, Gary loses patience and delivers a serious warning. Not long afterwards, George pays Todd an emotional visit and gives him an escape bag filled with practical essentials, hoping it might help him when he is finally ready to leave Theo behind. Sadly, it is not long before Theo discovers the bag. Forced to think quickly, Todd comes up with a cover story. He claims that he packed the belongings because they are preparing for their move to Belfast. As suspicion continues to build, Theo later heads to the bistro to confront George face to face. Meanwhile, Sarah and Summer are left stunned when they learn that Todd is seriously planning to leave Weatherfield with Theo. Later on, Todd goes in search of George, but when George presses him about the Belfast move, Todd deliberately avoids addressing the real reason behind it. The question now is whether Todd will actually leave Weatherfield alongside Theo. Ben Driscoll turns on Mum Maggie as tensions within the family continue to grow. Things become increasingly strained in the Driscoll household next week as Ollie urges Will to stop defending Megan and finally start putting his own well-being first. At the same time, Ben and Eva hold on to the hope that Will is keeping his distance from his abuser. What they do not realize, however, is that he has already been seeing Megan in secret and staying in touch with her through a burner phone. Deciding to step in herself, Maggie confronts Megan directly. Soon after, Lisa arrives and reveals that she has made an official assault complaint against the landlady. Maggie denies the accusation outright before storming off, determined to face Megan and get to the bottom of everything herself. Elsewhere at number 1, Daniel confesses to his father that Megan had only been using him as a cover while she pursued Will. His admission leaves Ken deeply troubled, especially as he becomes increasingly worried about the bitterness building inside his son. Later, Maggie corners Will and tells him she believes he is in love with Megan and that the baby belongs to him. As emotions boil over, Ben lashes out at Maggie, and her response leaves him deeply unsettled. Her unusual reaction raises even more questions and suggests there may be far more going on beneath the surface. All Coronation Street spoilers for next week as two villains finally face the consequences. Next week in Coronation Street, one abuser is finally exposed, one family begins to completely fall apart, and two dangerous figures are set to clash in a major showdown. As Todd Grimshaw's loved ones finally begin to understand the true extent of Theo Silverton's abuse, George Shuttleworth gives Todd an escape bag, while Gary Windus makes it very clear to Theo that he should start being careful. But is Todd actually any closer to breaking free from his controlling and dangerous boyfriend? Meanwhile, the Driscoll family continue to unravel after Megan Walsh's grooming and sexual abuse of Will Driscoll comes to light, even as Will still refuses to fully confirm the truth. While Ben, Eva, and Ollie choose to handle the situation more cautiously, Maggie decides to take a much more direct approach. But can she pressure Megan into finally admitting what she has done? Elsewhere, Bethany Platt begins to grow suspicious of Jodie Ramsey. Debbie Webster continues to face difficulties behind bars. Tim Metcalf is hit with a heartbreaking realization. And the big question remains, what does Mal Roper have planned next for Bernie Winter and Dev Allahan? Yes, I know what you're thinking. You say it every week. I talk too much. So, with that said, let's get straight into the spoilers.